Hi, this is Nahi. Today we're going to have our inaugural event of the Aspire Best Practices Group. This is a networking group, kind of. It's different from most networking groups because we're going to get to know each other through thoughtful conversations about interesting topics. This is something I've been wanting to do for ages, get people together, and instead of, just doing 30-second commercials and passing out business cards, really talking about something interesting and getting to know people that way. So I've invited a few friends to start the process with. We're going to do it today, and afterwards we're going to interview people and we're going to ask them what they got out of the discussion. Hey Margaret, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate it. What do you think is most useful about the discussion on personal growth in business?
I really like the part about where we're talking about when you meet with someone, you need to be vulnerable and you need to be open to what they're hearing and not come up with any preconceived notions about what's going to come out of the conversation, because I think that when that happens, you never know what you're going to discover, and it'll be so much more rich what you discover when you talk to somebody.
That's so interesting, and I can imagine that people that don't actually work on that self-awareness probably miss out on a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming today. Is there anything specific that you took away that would be really valuable for you?
I really liked meeting with the people. I love to hear different people's perspectives, and I think it keeps me fresh, and so it was really invigorating. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thanks so much for coming. I appreciate it. Annie, thank you so much for coming today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. This is a great experience.
What do you think was the most useful thing that came out of your conversations today?
Really getting a different perspective on thinking about feedback when you're in a work situation and you get some negative feedback potentially, that to really look at it from the perspective of, if you have no feedback, you really don't know how you're doing and you can't grow and you can't look at doing things differently. So that the feedback is really valuable. So I'm going to have a different perspective with that now.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I can imagine that people that haven't really done a lot of personal growth work, it's really scary to get feedback, and they can be defensive and probably want to avoid it. Every time the boss calls them into the office, they're like, oh gosh, I don't want to hear this. But now you're saying that, what people have shared with you is that they've actually, if they don't get any feedback, they never get a chance to grow. Yeah, excellent. Anything else that you got out of the discussion that you're taking away that you feel is really valuable?
Yeah, we were talking today about personal growth in business, and really by focusing on personal growth, you can be aware of your own strengths and how it's really important to keep that in mind when making career decisions, so you don't end up in a job that's a bad fit for you and the odds are kind of stacked against you already.
Got it. Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. Susan, thanks for coming today. What was the most interesting thing you got out of our discussion today?
We all came from different industries and had different interactions. So where some people had interactions with coworkers or staff, other people had interactions with clients. So I was interested both in how people had different ideas, but also how no matter who you interacted with, the themes were the same.
Interesting.
Being open, being vulnerable, not jumping to conclusions. So there was that common thread. I love that. But I also especially loved hearing other people's examples or challenges.
Great. And we're thinking about doing this a lot. This was our first run. What do you think people should know maybe about this group? I know I threw that one out at you, but
let's see. Well, they shouldn't be afraid of having to open up to complete strangers. So I think it's a very safe place to do that, and that's to your credit. But it requires thought. So I think the group will self-limit to people who are interested and on some level introspective enough and articulate.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you. A pleasure.
So that's what people had to say about the first group. Our first topic was personal growth in business, but we're going to be getting new topics every time. Next time it's going to be people work versus paperwork. So if this interests you, we're going to be doing it every second Wednesday of the month from 8 to 10 in the morning. And it'll be at Webster University campus in Irvine. I'm really excited about this group. I think it's going to be a special brain trust, interesting conversation type networking group. And I think it's a great way to meet people in a low-key environment. So if you're interested, check it out. I will always have pages dedicated to this on the Aspire website.